Women who've done time. What was women's prison like? My mom went to prison when I was a junior in high school. She was innocent. The other people had more money and our lawyer was complete. Long story short, she was in there for about 2 years. There's a lot of girls who either are or while in there tend to be lesbian. They're literally horny all the time. I remember being 18 and visiting my mom, and a few of the younger inmates had looked over at me a couple times and had given that blowjob look with their tongue against their cheek. Another thing is cleanliness. Lot of things get missed. Inmates pretty much do most the work around the prison, and my mom knew some people in the kitchen and they had been cleaning one day and figured they would open up the meat grinder because it hadn't been cleaned for a while. As they opened it, they found about 1 million maggots inside it. Basically it hadn't been cleaned a lot longer than people thought. And the whole prison had been eating maggot meat. I worked in jail on women's units for a while. Had a girl come up to me and tell me the cologne I used. I hadn't worn it in 4 days. Is she like half dog? Not me, but an ex's older sister got 3 DUIs and the last one meant she did a few weeks in jail. She was hot, but in a trashy way. One of the first things she said she learned was how to make a prison DLDO out of a toilet paper roll, saran wrap, napkins and a rubber band. She said she didn't use one, but she said it was more Azul there than she expected. She's a fine member of society now, but just had a bit of a reckless stage. Still makes me chuckle thinking about that prison DLDO though. Edit. Comma, she was hot but in a trashy way. Comma, in a trashy way. Comma, 3 DUIs. Comma, in a trashy way. Yeah. We figured. Mom was a corrections officer for a long time. So she worked in a jail, not prison. She said there was a ton of drama and sex in the women's unit compared to the men's. She referred to it as working with the bitches. Lol, I miss my frickin' mom. As someone who spent time in jail, yes, the same jail my mom worked at, I can tell you drama in the men's unit is usually at a 0 or a 10. The women's unit was probably more of a constant 6. The bitches just walked around like they were in a high school dorm, haha. My mom has had a couple of stints in jail prison. I could always ask her if she'd be willing to do an AMA. She's definitely made some poor choices and served time for those choices, and she isn't shy about it. Especially if it were to be in a somewhat anonymous fashion such as Reddit. A high school ex-girlfriend of mine went to ladder jail for prescription drugs. She said that all the inmates would bark at her when she walked by because she was the puppy of the pound. She got an improvised tattoo from a wood staple in a mechanical pencil. And apparently they have a lot of freedom there. We exchanged letters. My sis is in juvie and she's the only girl there. They are in separate areas. But she basically in solitary confinement. Says it sucks. I've been to jail twice. No prison though. Most people told me I didn't look like I belonged in jail. Gave me the WTF did you do to land here? One of the male guards flirted with me about my tattoos. I had an ex and a good friend that were both locked up. Different times but in the same state. They both pretty much reported the same stuff, a lot of drugs. Had people offering them prescription pills immediately upon entry. A dearth of good books. And asshole guards. The ex didn't get undergarments for the first week she was there for literally no reason other than someone forgot to give her them at some point and they didn't want to admit to it. The friend is a strict, whole life, vegan, and they wouldn't give her veggie meals, even though they're supposed to. She ended up having to eat only bread and apples the entire time she was there. Lost a ton of weight and still has digestive problems to this day. Mind you, both of these women were model prisoners, scared white girls from middle class families that made straight A's in school. Both went in for drug alcohol issues. And they still got treated like. I can only imagine what it must be like for the troublemakers. I'm a jail deputy who oversees women inmates as part of my daily assignments. I can answer any questions anyone has. I must caution that jail is not prison. But I can tell you about women inmates at my level if anyone is interested. The reason we have to have eyeing serious tags. Seriously, Grow the up. Some of us want to actually read real responses, not a bunch of bull that end in a joke. I was a volunteer tutor at a juvenile detention center. The boys and girls were separated. The boys were pretty well behaved and polite. The girls' program was shut down due to an incident. That happened over 5 years ago. The director of the program told us he tries not to remember what shut it down, but told us the boys are much easier to handle than the girls. He looked like a man who had seen some things. My dad used to work in a women's prison. He told me that most of the women there were really nice people. I can imagine women's prisons are mostly a lot less dangerous. What country? I can imagine that the case in Switzerland or the Netherlands. The ladies I saw in jail in the US. I can absolutely not say that about. I can tell you from my experience working at one that females are the most stressful inmates to deal with. They nag and bitch constantly and will get pleasure out of giving you a hard time in the most childish ways imaginable. It's even worse for the female employees. Bull. They're all best friends. I saw orange as the new black. Liar. Man who has worked in various prisons here. I will take a men's over women's any day of the week. Scary. Yay, but why? Men will act aggressive to assert dominance. It may escalate to violence. But a lot of the time it is just a matter of one guy wanting the other to submit. And the level of violence may stay mild if someone backs off. Women aren't as prone to that sort of physical domination. When a woman decides to fight another, she wants to hurt her. The escalation to severe violence can be quite sudden, and less likely to end just because someone backs down.